say hi. Yeah, all right. As well. All right. How many people did it say we have on there?
54, 66.
All right. How's everybody doing? Thanks for logging in for this. I guess a special edition of We the People Wednesday. And We the People is supposed to be constitutional themed articles or memes or what have you. And on this one, I had asked for questions to be directed towards the congressional candidates for California's 50th district, which happened to be Ammar Campa-Najjar, who's with me here. Thanks for being with me.
Yeah, of course.
Want to make sure that put it out there that we've reached out to his opponent's camp, Darrell Issa, who's the Republican candidate for the district. Ammar's running as a Democratic candidate. So Ammar's the first politician actually to kind of reach out, and I was going to ask him to do this before I had the opportunity to ask him. He asked me, wanted to come in and kind of, I guess, face some music, for lack of a better word.
That's how somebody put it in the comment section.
Yeah. So it takes some bravery there, knowing that I don't think anybody would argue or disagree or challenge the fact that I'm about as far right conservative as they come. I am just that. I'm a Republican. He's a Democrat. He knows that. When we got to talking and he wanted to be on the page, my exact words to Ammar were that I would not support him, I would not endorse him, but I would allow him to be on the page just as I would any candidate or politician, so that that they could answer questions, promote themselves, and I think that this is an incredible tool that we have the ability to do, rather than sending in an email to a candidate or politician's public account, and who knows if their PR person's going to get it and respond, or when you're going to get it. Yeah. This, we have the opportunity here to ask questions directly, get real-time answers, and in this case, like I said, so I've explained to Ammar that, my interest here is that I want to invite all candidates, and even if I was opposed to any candidate and supported their opponent, I want to remain fair. Not going to say unbiased or neutral, because I'm not. I do have an agenda. I support the Republican candidates for the most part. However, I think that too often what we see from candidates today is that they have questions rehearsed, scripted. They know the answers. They avoid the tough questions, the tough answers. I'm sure Ammar knows pretty much, along the lines of questions that I'm going to ask him. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. We haven't rehearsed this in any way. Other than the fact that, we've had some conversations related to Obama, Clinton, the squad,
socialism,
Governor Newsom, socialism, Green New Deal, border wall, healthcare, and so questions are going to be related along those lines, and also we'll kind of talk about some East County issues and things that we want. So I hope that people accept this. This interview here is going to be a kind of a brief introduction to Ammar and some of his policies, so that hopefully we can clean these comment sections up to civil discourse and debate. Challenge Ammar on his views, on his policies, ask him the legitimate questions. If anybody can understand being attacked, I'm not going to say that the statements or rumors or accusations made against Ammar are true or false. We can get into that here as we go into the debate. But if you've picked up a local San Diego paper lately and seen what they've said about myself and the Defend East County group, I think that we see that we can't believe everything we hear, and this gives us an opportunity to ask Ammar directly. I've heard some statements that that he's lying to me or this or that, and I mean that may be the case, that may be so, but this in this forum, and we have the opportunity that he's live. This isn't going anywhere. This is documented. This is his statements are going to be public record, and thank you. Thanks for being here.
Of course, man. So, and I want people to know that I'm not the only one smoking a cigar, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, and we're having some whiskey and just keeping it casual, and gonna talk about East County issues. And thank you for inviting me over, man.
Absolutely.
Can we get a lighter real quick?
Yeah. Thanks. So
We're gonna, you know, I'm from East County, so I figured I'd jump on this
Yeah.
because Defend East County, there's 22,000 people on there. And
22,000 people from East County, the district which you represent, right?
exactly. And I'm from
So-
East County. I'm from Humboldt.
Yeah.
And you got people who are hard right. You have people who are conservative. You have people who are. There's some Democrats on here who just want to protect East County.
Yeah.
So I figured, if I'm running for Congress to represent everybody,
Mm-hmm.
how am I not going to talk to 22,000 people who are from the district? So I'm happy to be here, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that you've talked about some things. And you don't just do East County defense. You talked about cancer stuff, the things that you've done that doesn't get any highlights on the news
Yeah.
because. If it isn't bleed, isn't lead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's things that you guys have done that I agree with.
So that kind of leads into the first question that I'd obviously have is, what are your thoughts, interpretations on Defend East County, and I guess as a follow up to that, so you can lead into it, it'd be the, you obviously follow local news and have
Yeah.
seen what's been written and publicized about the group, and
Right.
so. What are your thoughts on Defend East County and how we've been portrayed in the local media?
Look, I joined Defend East County because I wanted to see it for myself. As a candidate, I've seen a lot of false things stated about me, so I'm always skeptical about what's out there. I know that it's always usually half of the story. I sat down and talked to Justin a couple weeks ago. We had cigars. We talked for like 5 hours, just talking about East County and everything that you guys stand for. And when I first logged on, one of the questions is, will you refrain from using racism? Will you refrain from hate speech and all that stuff? And I was like, okay, I get behind that. That sounds different than what I've been hearing in the news, denouncing racism. All right, I get behind that. So there's more than meets the eye with Defend East County. And so I got on there, and people are talking about helping people with cancer and food drives and the fires. I'm like, all right, there's an alignment there.
Mm-hmm.
So my interpretation is that Defend East County was born out of the La Mesa burning, right? And I don't support any vandalism, any of that stuff, any of the ideologies that are trying to destroy East County, whether it's the Antifa ideology, whether it's the anarchists and all that stuff. I don't support that.
Yeah.
I don't support any vandalism from any side, the left or the right, and I hope we could agree on that.
That's something we have to
Yeah.
agree on. Yeah.
And so, but I know that's not just, that was the genesis of Defend East County, but you guys have done more. I mean, you're doing drives for people with cancer.
Right.
You're helping people with, evacuations. You personally have been doing it. So I want people to get a full picture of what East County is about. And this group has gotten a bad rap because people are focusing on only one thing and a few bad actors that every group has, right? And you've done a good job saying that's not who we are. If you are going to be hateful and racist, you're not part of Defend East County. So I appreciate your leadership on that. And what I've seen on the group so far, I don't know if you've done some cleaning of it, but the way it looks right now, aside from the comments about me, but the other, I think are pretty damn good. So Defend East County, I think there's more than meets the eye, to be honest.
And that's I'm glad you recognize that and want to be on the page and kind of see that, because I do think that Defend East County represents the East County as a whole in a larger picture.
Yeah.
That obviously, like you alluded to, we were born from the incidents that happened in La Mesa on May 30th and to the morning of May 31st. So we started May 31st, and we had 11,000 people on the page within the first 12 hours, and 15,000 in the first 36 hours. And I realized at that point that I had a platform, and it was I thought that wow, this is something we could really do some good with. And we immediately started with the Back the Blue caravans and the father-daughter dances and the small business spotlights and shout-outs. And, we have another page called Support East County and some others. So I'm really glad that you recognize that.
Yeah.
But so the obvious kind of follow-up question to that are, what are your thoughts and your views on the BLM movement as a whole? I know that there's kind of a lot of subgroups and this and that, but I mean, BLM is just, let's just kind of keep it, focused to, BLM's movement, their message, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on there's BLM, the corporation, there's BLM, there's people who are supporting BLM. Let me tell you what I do support and don't support with BLM. I don't support people who are not from East County, sometimes not even from San Diego or California, coming in and trying to cause some disruption in our communities, right?
Right.
And the expectation that there's not going to be any conflict. I mean, anytime somebody comes from the outside in mass, it's scary to us, right?
It is.
So I could see why there's tensions there. That's not what I think BLM should be doing. I don't think that there should be violence and all that stuff. I do think there are people who are trying to co-opt people's legitimate grievances about equality and fairness and all that stuff. There are people who are trying to have peaceful protests, and then it's getting hijacked by these people who just want to be anarchists, who don't even support the idea of equality. They don't even believe in the fact that, they support these things. In fact, when I see the BLM movement, the ones that I've seen in our district, like 80% of them are white.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like they're talking about negatively about white people, but like 80% of them are white. Now, are there legitimate grievances within the black community? Absolutely. I mean, we can't deny that. Like, people ask like, why is slavery relevant to today? I mean, there are certain communities that, the GI Bill, when it was introduced, black people did not get the GI Bill. They didn't get affordable housing. So they were, while we were all building wealth as communities, the black community was left behind. So we got to fix that. We got to deal with police reform too. But you know what you don't do? You don't defund the police. I don't support defunding the police. I have law enforcement in my family. And, back in the day with MLK, he was not saying defund the police. He was saying we have a problem of over-policing in some communities, but we have a bigger problem with under-policing in certain communities, where the black community is saying, how come you're not taking care of our communities the same way you are more affluent locations, right? So I think that if we want to train our police officers better and make them better police officers with training, de-escalation and disengagement, you don't just say, let's pay you less and train you more. I can't think of a single job where someone says, we're going to pay you less but train you more. If you train somebody more, you got to pay them more. You don't defund the police and expect it to get fixed. You got to fund the police properly and make sure that you're not overexerting them. For example, I would be supportive of having social workers go in the car with the police officer to deal with the homeless, because they're saying, I'm not trained to be a social worker. They're really well trained, but they need help. They're over leveraged, and you don't defund your way to making the police department stronger for everybody, not just people of color, but the whole community. So I think the police department's been suffering for a long time, and they need to have the funding that they need to protect and serve. That's their job.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unravel there, and I'll get to it. But I don't want people to think that I'm not listening to Ammar.
Just looking at the comments.
I'm watching, the live feed, looking at the comments here, any text messages that come in, so that I can get your guys' questions in there if you want them. And Ammar knew I was going to do this ahead of time, so I am listening and following the comments here. So one of the comments that you made in there, and regarding the BLM, that I kind of wanted to touch on, because this is a question I have asked repeatedly of, anybody who I thought would even give a halfway intelligent answer. But you said that you support the right to peacefully protest.
Yeah.
Can you either give me a definition of what you believe a peaceful protest is, or give me a single example of a BLM protest that could be considered as peaceful?
Yeah. Look, I'll tell you what isn't peaceful. When you say F the police. When you're yelling at the top of your lungs, F the police.
There we go.
Right?
Okay.
When you're causing havoc, when you're burning down black businesses in Atlanta, that is not good for black communities. And I'll give you an example of a peaceful protest. When the sheriff, I think Massachusetts somewhere, there was a sheriff who said, look, you want to walk together? Let's walk together. Yeah. And they all started walking together. That's great. Or when you had the police officers and everybody else standing together saying, look, we're on your side here. Just tell us what you need. We don't have to yell about it. Yeah. Sometimes, Martin Luther King said that riots are the voice of the unheard. We hear them now. We know what they're saying. We know that they're saying something. Yeah. What are you saying? What do you want? Because if it's just F the police, it's going to fall on deaf ears. Yeah. So make sure that your message is concise, that you want to have peace, that you want to make sure that, we're not killing people like that gentleman who was killed with the neck on the boot on the neck.
George
Floyd, yeah. There's things like that obviously is not it's the exception, not the rule. We all agree that was bad, right?
Yeah, we can agree that it was bad, but one of the things that I've kind of maintained through this is we'll talk more about this. I don't want to spend too much time on any one subject, and we'll get into police reform, and that is that obviously. In hindsight, that situation could have been dealt with differently. But the thing is one of the things I've really talked to and debated with some BLM activists about is this idea that police need to de-escalate situations. I think that we can kind of all agree that as a society we have become morally worse. I guess I don't
Right.
want to say
We're
that
more violent. We're a more
yeah, our
violent country than we used to
behavior
be.
has
Yeah.
become, I mean, you look at the way that, I mean, just a level of respect that we treat each other with and speak to each other with. Our actions have become more boisterous, more lewd. In general, the level of disrespect and, I mean, just it is become outrageous. So, us as a society, when we're acting out, I mean, we can agree that, things, George Floyd,
Yeah.
had he not been breaking the law, had he not been resisting, wouldn't have led to that. I mean, could it have been handled a little differently? Possibly, but, we're not in those situations. And while I agree with police reform,
Hmm.
and that,
But it was wrong to kill him, right? I mean,
right. Well, but so the autopsy says that he died of a drug overdose and heart complications. I mean, nothing to
I
do
hadn't
with
heard that, so I
Yeah.
have to do my research on
Yeah.
that. But I saw the neck, the heel on the neck for 9 minutes. That's
Yeah, I mean, we all saw that.
and every
but-
police officer I know is like, that's not us.
right, and,
Right,
and
so-
we can agree on that.
Yeah, okay.
So
Just wanted to make sure.
so when we go into police reform, and as a politician, and one of the things that really separates Democrats and conservatives is is fiscality. If that's even a word.
Yeah, no, it's good. Fiscal responsibility.
But so we talk about giving police more resources and things, and I mean it's not obvious to see the very difference in policing and behaviors in the Democratic states like California, New York, Illinois, and seeing what's going on there. Oregon and Washington. Whereas in conservative states, we're not having these issues with conservative governors, conservative mayors, and with conservative leadership. And one of the issues I would say to that, and kind of bringing it back to that fiscal responsibility, is that so when budgets are prepared, I think we could agree that the governors and whatnot, they fund their pet projects first. We could talk about things like the bullet train to nowhere.
Yeah,
and,
the gas
and,
tax, which I was against.
Yeah, we'll get to that absolutely. So some of these things, and then we get we know that police and fire can take about 70% of the budget. So instead of funding police, fire, infrastructure first, they get and schools, those get pushed to the back end of the budget as because we know if Newsom comes and asks us for more money for this bullet train to nowhere, we're going to say absolutely not. If he asks for more money to give to illegal aliens, we're going to say no. But if he takes that money up front, he puts it there, and he doesn't tell us that he put that money there, and he tells us that, oh, well, we need more money for police, and we need more money for infrastructure, so we need to raise taxes, and we're all going to say okay. So if we give the police the additional resources, which we can all agree that they need, well, those resources in and of themselves, by definition, are they're very finite. So that will cost money. It will cost additional training. Anybody who gets additional training is going to want additional compensation. So the training costs money to pay the people who are trained,
right?
And then it also becomes even more difficult to get rid of bad officers. Because now we're gonna have, we already have a shortage of officers. Now these aren't things. I'm not against police reform. I'm not against giving them the resources. I mean, and that may sound contradictory, but I mean these things are going to cost money.
How do you pay for it?
There it is.
Yeah, so the Police Officers Association, I have a 10-point plan, and they approved every single part of that plan. The Police Officers Association supports my plan. How do we pay for it? It's not by raising our taxes in California. This is what pisses me off. What pisses me off is that California pays more federal taxes than any other state in the union. Like, we're subsidizing Kentucky and other smaller states. California pays more federal taxes. Every year, Justin, we get less out of the system in Washington than we put into it. So what happens is that me and you pay taxes to the federal government, and they're supposed to fix our infrastructure and our roads and fund our police, move money, bring grass to the county level. And then they don't do it. Washington doesn't do their job. So then the governor's like, we're going to double tax you for the same service. We're going to do a gas tax to pay for the same services that you pay taxes to Washington to pay for. And so you're being double taxed, and you're not even getting the service once. What I want to do is go to Congress, get our dollars back, put it into our communities, and get rid of all these crazy California tax hikes that we're doing because Washington's not doing its job. And so that's why I oppose the gas tax. That's why I oppose Prop 15. That's why Carl DeMaio and I agree on the gas tax. I don't want to raise your taxes. My 4-point plan is to stop the tax hikes in California. You've seen it. Number 2 is America First economics, and we'll get into that. Number 3 is public safety and national security. Doesn't sound like a socialist to me. And number 4, drain the swamp. We don't need career politicians who get lazy and get comfortable. I'm here working my butt off because I'm earning every vote. Daryl Ice is not here because he was in Congress for 18 years, and he's taking you for granted. At least I'm showing up. So if we drain the swamp, we won't have people like that who take people for granted. Those are the 4-point plans.
Well, sure. So let me kind of, I guess, go a little off subject here and kind of. So, we've kind of talked about this, privately here. Is the fact that when you first handed me your flyer and I looked at it and I said, well, this looks like a Republican ticket, and you told me that you're a moderate and that you kind of have some conservative values there, and so why don't you run on a Republican ticket? And you said you're running on the Democrat ticket, and kind of go on about that. So rather than take up too much time on this, why don't you tell us what it is that makes you a Democrat?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 things that make me a Democrat is Social Security and Medicare. I want to make sure that you could retire with dignity. My opponent wants to raise the retirement age. He wants you to live longer. He wants to raid Medicare and Social Security. He wants to get rid of the ability to pay for that. And the thing is, you're paying into it now. So I want to make sure you retire with dignity. I always tell people, what makes me a Democrat? It's what used to make Republicans Republican. The party of Lincoln, about equality. The party of Nixon, who founded the EPA to protect our water and air for our kids. Teddy Roosevelt was a conservationist, an environmentalist. I support that. Not this Green New Deal stuff, but the conserving the environment that God gave us. Only Nixon could go to China, right? This whole being tough on China, and then Reagan with Russia. So, and this idea that we support, that Reagan supported legal immigration. Now I know that the Republican Party supports that, but there's been times when I feel like the rhetoric gets in the way of the genuine values of the Republican Party in terms of our leadership. For me, those are my values, and I think that, look, the Democratic Party used to be the backers of the KKK, and you know what I mean? And Lincoln was the party of freeing the slaves. So these parties shift, and for me, it's like, come with the one that show up with the one that brought you to the dance. I was raised Democrat. I'd rather fix my party than jump ship, because what we need is 2 parties working together. We used to do that. Remember, under Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, we created a surplus, we balanced the budget, we reduced our deficits. We were able to get things done. I know Bill Clinton's not that popular anymore, but back in the day, he was conceived as a blue dog Democrat. I've been endorsed by the blue dog Democrats, by the way. So I'm fiscally responsible. And that's been my plan, is to work with both parties to get things done. California is a perfect example of when one party rules, how shitty it gets, right? That if in D.C. you have one party ruling, no one gets shit done. So I think we have to have both parties working together. The Democrats have to come back to the middle. And I'll be honest with you, Justin. I'll be completely honest. And my opponent's not willing to admit this. Daryl Issa has changed his positions on everything. You can look it up on Planned Parenthood, on everything else. I am man enough to admit to you that I'm a better candidate now than I was 4 years ago. My plans have improved. Why? Because I've listened to people like you and Defend East County and people in the community. It's a genuine, coming closer to the needs of my district. That's what being a congressman is. You check your own views out the door sometimes. You have to be a representative of the district. And so that's how I'm campaigning. That's how I'm going to govern. And obviously I want to be in Congress to deliver for you. That's the job. I'm not going to turn my values around. I'm going to be the same guy that I am now. But I will admit, 4 years ago, I was not as good as a candidate as I am now. And my views have improved because I've listened to people. I've listened to healthcare professionals and people who know how to fix healthcare, who know how to make sure that we could fix our roads and bridges, and our police officers with the police association. I'm listening to the community, and I think that makes me a better congressman. ICE has been there for 18 years. He hasn't fixed the problems that he said he was going to fix. Give somebody new a chance is all I'm asking. Give me 2 years. If you don't like me, you could ditch me.
All right. So one of the reading seen a lot of comments. Some of the comments saying that you're not answering the question, and that
All right. Maybe I'll just say yes or no.
Well, I'm not sure. But no. Answer the question. I'm trying to see here, because I'm watching some questions. I'm just seeing more statements. I'm looking for the questions. So please, if you have them, I'm going to ask him. But I I do have a lot of questions for myself. So, is questions coming?
Should I answer this question?
So, okay. Will you also have a terrorist?
I'll answer the question that they're trying to ask. I'm not a terrorist. The sheriff's department would have rounded me up and taken me away by now. I've been alive for 31 years. I've been a lifelong East County resident. I've been campaigning for 4 years, guys. I mean, think about it. My grandpa died 16 years before I was born. There's allegations that he did stuff. There's some people who say he didn't. Regardless of what the history is, I knew him as much as you did. I've condemned his actions, the allegations of his actions. And here's the thing. I don't think that you should be responsible for the actions of your ancestors. Like, if your great-grandparents were slave owners, that doesn't make you a racist, right? In fact, I've actually met with the guy who killed my grandparents, Ehud Barak. I shook his hand and I said, I'm committed to peace. Let's turn the page. How many of you would be willing to meet the person who killed both your grandparents? Maybe my grandpa was bad, but my grandma was just a homemaker. I met with that man, shook his hand, and said, let's move forward. And you know what he said to me? He said, one day, you and my grandkids are going to sit next to each other, and you won't be able to even explain to yourself why it took this long to make peace happen. So and when I told you that, you're like, if you had great-great-grandparents who were slave owners, does that make you a slave owner?
Absolutely not.
No.
So that is something that we've talked about. These aren't so keep in mind, before we did this, Ammar and I did we talked about his grandfather. We talked about that, and again, this is going to this is more of a brief introduction. We're going to get into more detail about more of the more questions and more details. I kind of want to really touch on a lot of subjects. We're not ignoring that topic. It's obviously of concern. I guess, would you like to briefly? We're off track here. We'll get right back on. But kind of, I don't want these interviews that I do, these Q&As, to be character or personal attacks. I want to challenge policies, views, ideas. However, I'm not going to ignore
elephants in the room.
Yeah. So okay. So obviously, we touched on your grandfather there. We'll talk about that more.
That before I was born. Yeah.
Another one coming up. Heard that somebody had made a comment that back when you had a MySpace, there was a picture of Jewish soldiers that were dead with swastikas on them. Yeah. And that you blame them for killing your grandfather. Is there any merit to truth to that?
Absolutely not. And the fact is, you can't just go out there and say stuff and not have proof. Yeah. If that happened, show me the proof. Okay. I've been an advocate of peace my whole life. I met with Ehud Barak, the guy who was Prime Minister of Israel. I have a photo. I'll post it after this. Okay. That doesn't square with somebody who is anti-Semitic. My girlfriend's Jewish, for God's sakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, are you a Muslim?
No, I'm a Christian. In fact, people were attacking me, saying I was fired from my church. So does that mean I'm Christian?
Next
or
question.
Not?
So, I was told that you came here as a Muslim, converted to Christianity, that you then from Christianity went to atheism, and then back to. Let's see if it comes back on here. What's going on? You seeing anything over there? I'm not.
Maybe it's a new.
It says. I'm not trying to finish.
It's live now, but maybe it's a different screen now. If you close that, maybe it's a new screen. Maybe you. No, but maybe it's a new live. Maybe that one.
It did.
This one's still
there.
Oh, now we're okay. That. All right, I guess. Somehow, maybe when we shook the table, that one ended.
Yeah.
Okay, so I touch on.
I'll talk about that.
I don't think they heard. Let me just kind of restate what I just said. So there's some accusations that Ammar had come to America as a Muslim.
I was born in America. I was born in East County.
Okay, converted to Christianity, went to atheism, back to Christianity as a youth leader in the church, had a relationship with a student, and was fired. How would you like to respond to those accusations?
None of it's true. I was born in East County, Grossmont Hospital. You could look up I was born in Grossmont Hospital. I'll send you the birth certificate. I know nobody here is a birther but about me, but I was born in East County. Yeah. And, my mom's Mexican. She's Catholic. She raised me on her own. I think it's still going.
It's still, comments are coming in, but it's like my video's frozen. So maybe I just have...
Feed is down?
I think your feed is down.
Did you just fart? That's why.
Take back Congress vote red. Can anybody hear me? Let me know.
If you could hear us, just
Give me
say.
a thumbs up if you can hear me, so I know that we're talking about now. I mean, he's still coming on as if like we're live. Are we? Can anybody hear me? I'm not getting any thumbs
You're
up.
up. It says you're up.
You're
I
up.
can see and hear it. Perfect. They can see
Okay,
and hear.
so go ahead.
So I was born in East County. My dad left when I was 9 years old. My mom raised me on her own. She's Catholic. You know, you can't choose, you know, what faith your parents are. But I became Christian at 15 years old. I wasn't, you know, I don't think you choose your faith when you're a kid. You choose your faith when you have the free will to do so.
Yeah.
I became Christian. I worked at my church as a janitor. I became a youth minister. My pastor vouched for me on here. And I didn't get fired by the church. People just saw I had a TV ad of me at the church last month.
Oh.
So would the church have, you know, let me back on the grounds if I was fired on bad terms? No, it's on its face. Doesn't make sense, guys. And no, I dated a girl who was 2 years younger than me. I was 17. She was 15 years old.
1 second.
So it's like a senior and a sophomore
Call Jennifer
dating.
Thorpe on speaker. Jennifer's texting me and she sent me a screenshot. Like, it looks like we're still live.
Yeah, we're still. Are we still live? Thumbs up.
Bianca, call Jennifer Thorpe on speaker.
Calling Jennifer Thorpe. Home on speaker.
People are watching. It looks like. They're saying, "Yep."
Jennifer.
Hey.
Is it still live?
No, it cut off.
It cut off. So
Yeah.
like it cut off on my end, but like it's still like showing like that it's recording and like comments are coming up. Like so the comments are coming in.
You guys are live. It's
No,
saying.
we can't see your live at all. It says live ended.
Okay, I'll restart it, or just in case. Right.
And then we'll just clean it up.
I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but apparently it ended for some. So if you're still on here, I'm gonna end this one and restart another one. Okay.
All right. People are populating back in.
Yeah.
Do you want to wait or?
Yeah, let's give them a chance to get back on so that they could hear this response. So while that's going on, you know, Ammar will briefly answer that, but you know, we're kind of limited on time here. This is a little impromptu.
Yeah.
So we decided to do this in response to some of the comments and that we were getting on both sides. You know, Ammar wants to answer your questions. Sometimes things are getting posted to the page. Ammar's not at a computer to answer the questions.
Right.
I want to ask him these tough questions on here. Again, you know, while you know I want to be fair to Ammar. Again, we're still reaching out to Darrell Ice's camp. We want to meet with him. That's the Republican candidate. Ammar is the Democratic candidate. Ammar being on the page, meeting with me is not an endorsement or support for me. It is literally, you know, democracy. This is literally an unprecedented opportunity for us as constituents to have direct access to a candidate, ask them the questions that we want to ask. I've got a lot of questions that we're trying to get to in a short amount of time. You know, I'm reading the comments. We're going to get there. I'd like to focus more on policy views, you know, as opposed to Ammar's personal family history. We'll get into that again in a later date. But because
Can I address the Christian thing real quick?
yeah, exactly. I just want to get the elephant out of the room.
Yeah.
And that's
so
it.
so people are saying I'm a Muslim terrorist and I was a Christian who was fired from my church. It can't be both. Both can't be true. Both could be false, and they are. Here's the truth. The Republican Party actually reached out to my pastor at Eastlake Community Church to ask if I was fired, and my pastor said no. So that should put it to bed. I also had a TV ad playing for 2 weeks at my church. Do you think they would have let me come into the church and do a TV ad and give me keys to the church? If I was fired on false grounds for misconduct, I wasn't fired. I worked there for 4 years. And then I went to college and started taking 21 units and studying full time. So I quit because I needed to study full time. So this notion that I was fired, this notion that I had an affair, which an affair means you were married and had a marriage out of an affair out of wedlock, with somebody, you know, that's baloney. I dated somebody that I met at church, which is what you do when you're Christian. My pastor met his wife at church. How many of you or churchgoers meet somebody at church? I dated a girl who was 2 years younger than me. I was 17, she was 15. Daryl Ice's wife is 10 years older than him. Doesn't make it weird. You know, I just dated somebody who was 2 years younger than me, and I was 17, she was 15. So it's not that big of a deal. That's the facts. I wasn't fired. I left after I worked at to go work at community college, and I've been a member ever since, and the church has supported me. So obviously that's been debunked.
Okay, so again, you know, we can get into that. We can talk more about that on the page and in another video. I really kind of want to focus on some of the bigger issues and topics. You know, questions that I'm going.
Somebody asked a good question. They said, name 3 accomplishments from Trump.
Absolutely.
1, the USMCA, the new trade agreement. Love that. Smart. Good. We're not going to have this trade imbalance anymore. We're not going to get ripped off from other countries. The executive action on pharmaceutical drugs, I supported 100%. And he wanted to push for infrastructure reform. It never happened, but he's been pushing for that. And that's an accomplishment that's waiting to happen. If I'm in Congress and he's president, we're going to pass infrastructure reform.
Okay. Good. So since you know, you haven't been in an elected position, you don't have a voting record really for us to kind of gauge and discuss. So I kind of want to talk about, I guess, kind of hypothetically, had you been in Congress, you know, in the past, you know, how would you have voted for, you know, the impeachment inquiry?
Yeah, if you look up my Q&A on the Tribune, I know you don't like the Tribune, but if you look up the Q&A in the Tribune, I actually said I would not impeach, and I got a lot of flack for that. And so I've been on the record. You're asking me, you know, I'm not in elected office, but I do have a record. I've been on record saying I would not have supported impeachment.
And that is on record. That's great. Okay, Justice Kavanaugh. That was the way he was treated. I think it's disgusting. It's despicable. The way that, you know, his name was tarnished, and I mean, I think he's a great man. I think he's done a phenomenal job since he's you know, been confirmed.
He's actually voted in ways that some Democrats like.
How would you have voted? You know, how would you have voted in?
Well, so on that's Senate. So even if I was in Congress, I wouldn't have had a vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would have looked at the facts. I would have asked them questions on the merits, not on the personal attacks, because I don't go for personal attacks. I've been attacked personally. You've been attacked personally. We need to know, can you do the job? That's what matters the most. And the president has the discretion to appoint Supreme Court justices that he chooses to appoint. And the Senate is controlled by Republicans. So the president has the Senate and the White House to make his choices. The fact that the Democrats want the president to hold off until after the election, it's within his constitutional right. You know, he's president for 4 years, not 3. That's just the truth. So he has the prerogative to appoint who he wants. If I was in the Senate, I would ask Kavanaugh questions, but I know that he was going to get appointed, so I wouldn't have stood in the way.
And what about his most recent appointment?
Yeah, again, the same thing. I mean, I think they're having their confirmation on the 12th. So again, I'd want to hear what she has to say. The Senate's job, not my job, is to consider and confirm Supreme Court justices.
Right, the Senate, but I just kind of.
So I'd want to consider and then confirm her if I thought she had the qualifications based on her confirmation. It seems like she's very qualified, so I probably would.
So I'm glad we're talking about this because, you know, I mean, obviously that is Senate, but you know, we do know that Congress is, you know, House of Representatives and, you know, and their role in this and the meetings. But one of the things that really bothered me in the debate, other than the debate in and of itself, to be honest,
With Trump and Biden.
Yeah, I really did not like the way that Chris Wallace let Biden off the hook when being asked about filibustering and stacking the Supreme Court.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts and views on that?
I don't believe we should stack the Supreme Court. Full stop. And I'm against filibustering. But that happens in the Senate, so you can't really. You could pass legislation, but it's a Senate thing. But that we'll keep it simple. I don't support filibustering or stacking the court.
Would you support an investigation into the Clinton Foundation and the email scandal in Benghazi?
If there's still outstanding questions, it's our obligation in Congress to investigate every single matter. But I don't want to beat a dead horse. We'll figure it out and see if it was bad or good, and then we'll go from there.
For sake of time here, I'm just going to kind of fire off a lot of questions that I have so that we kind of get to a lot of points. Another elephant in the room, obviously, is some of the endorsements that you've had. I can't stand AOC and Rashida Tlaib and, you know, the squad in general. There's, you know, rumors that should you be elected, you'd be the first male member of the squad. How do you respond to that, and what are your thoughts on the
Yeah,
squad?
so they endorsed me last cycle, but not this cycle. I didn't ask for the endorsement; they just endorsed me. I can't control who endorses me, but you'll notice this cycle they didn't endorse me. Last cycle they didn't know what I stood for. They just like, oh, he's a brown guy. He's probably whatever. And this time, the mistake I made last cycle is it became a mudslinging contest between me and Hunter, and no one got to hear my values.
Yeah.
But now everybody knows my values after we've talked, and the progressives don't see a lot of themselves in me. So the Blue Dog Democrats have endorsed me, and they're fiscally responsible. Every single one of the Blue Dog Democrats actually voted against Pelosi.
Okay.
And so that's the kind of group that I'm actually with.
Okay, so fiscal responsibility. We remiss not to bring up socialism. Bernie Sanders, the Green New Deal.
Right.
So obviously, Bernie Sanders has endorsed you
Last cycle.
Last cycle.
Because he didn't know better.
Yeah. So
now he knows better and didn't endorse me.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Bernie Sanders, the Green New Deal, and socialism in general?
I oppose all forms of socialism, full stop. I don't think that government should control corporations, but I also don't think corporations should control government. You know who controls government? We do. That's what I believe. So that's what we agree on. And then on the Green New Deal, it's we're not supposed to be regulating cow farts. Let's get real. Let's get real about the environment.
Yeah.
I want to have clean air, clean water. I want to make sure that we are able to outcompete China because China's investing in new energy. I don't want to see the future to China.
Yeah.
That's what other people have said too. So I want to invest in renewable energy, but I also think we need natural gas and nuclear clean alternatives because we're not there yet with renewable energy. So we have to have a diverse portfolio of energy. I don't believe in the Green New Deal. I said that I support a version of environmental policies, but Daryl Ice is out there saying Ammar supports the Green New Deal. And on Medicare for All, when it first came out,
Could you back up one more time? Can you say that?
Yeah, my opponent said that I support the Green New Deal. I said, no, I support a version of my environmental policy.
Which is?
We have to, ExxonMobil, they're investing in renewable energy because they know that's the future. I would give them tax incentives to invest more in renewable energy, right? I would give them benefits and tax incentives to do that because we do want to reduce the smog. We had smog in our district many years ago in LA, but also in Santee. So I would reduce our carbon footprint and create jobs, but I wouldn't regulate cow farts and do all this crazy stuff and stop airplanes and hamburgers and all this stuff. I think the Green New Deal is very, very impractical and way out. And the thing is, you can't afford it. I don't believe you can't spend the same dollar twice. And the problem with the Green New Deal and Medicare for All, the plans that they've laid out, are not fiscally responsible. They sound good because Green New Deal sounds like you're going to create jobs with the environment, like the New Deal that created jobs under FDR, but the plans are shit, wall to wall. So I don't support the plans.
Okay, so renewable energy, and so where are you on fracking, on coal? The governor's new bill saying
the car thing?
Saying no more combustible engines by 2035. So
I don't.
there's three questions in
it's
one.
impractical. All of that's impractical.
So you wouldn't support that? No. What about climate change?
Yeah, let me backtrack real quick. So, I live in Hamul. We have rolling blackouts all the time because this state says we're going to go all in on renewables. And then when we have a surge in energy usage, we don't have enough reserves because you can't store solar.
Right.
So I think that's stupid. And I'll give you an example. My stepdad, it was 115 degrees in the first day of the Valley Fire. I had to evacuate him because he went through some major surgery. There was no AC, and he was convulsing. People have died because of our failed energy policies in this state. I know that personally. And 164 people died in the witch fire in 2007 because their ventilators shut off, their medical devices that keep them alive shut off for hours, and they can't afford that. And that is because of the failed energy policies of this state. So trust me when I say, as someone who's experienced rolling blackouts, I doesn't know that living in the coast. I live in Hamul. I know how hot it gets. I know what we go through. I don't support those policies. And then the question about climate change. The environment is getting hotter. We had the hottest days on record in the Valley Fire. You know that. It was hot as shit. It was 115 degrees in El Cajon. It was the hottest day in El Cajon history. And the military has said that extreme weather patterns are affecting their military preparedness because of rising coastlines and mudslides and hurricanes. Is it man-made? That some people don't agree, some people do agree. But what's the problem with just saying we're going to be good stewards of our environment, of our open spaces, clean air, clean water? And if we invest in renewable energy in a responsible way, not only is that good for the environment, but more importantly, we're winning the Cold War against China and Germany, who are investing in the future of energy. You know what the most in-demand job in America is? It's solar panel technician. It pays $80,000 a year. It's a good program for creating jobs, but not at the expense of our way of life.
Yeah.
And that has to be the balance, and it has to be fiscally responsible.
Okay. So, governors.
And Trump said that too. Someone said Trump has said so.
So the governors blamed, California wildfires on climate change. Now, always, we see in conservative states with conservative environmental policies, we're not seeing these wildfires. Like Texas has far more forest, than
Yeah,
California.
vegetation management. Yeah, they do a better job.
So, California is, liberal environmentalists. So we've, don't allow the clearing of the brushes and what have you. Seem to be the contributing factor, the primary contributing factor to wildfires. Would you agree with that?
100%. So I was out there in the Valley Fire with Jeremy. You know Jeremy, who's part of the Fire Protection Coalition.
I'm not.
So he's a great guy. Jeremy's on this group, and he's part of this nonprofit. And you know what he talks about all the time? He said defensible spacing. So you have to clear brush around your house, be responsible with the vegetation, get succulents like cactuses that have water in them, so that the fires are stopped by the vegetation, and don't have flammable, combustible vegetation. So vegetation management is a big part of that, and I support that 100%. And other states do that better than us. I will give you that much. So when I'm in Congress, I'm going to invest more resources so that we can do that. Because my house, in the 1970s, the house that I live in now, it burned to the ground because of that fire in 1970. You probably remember it, because of the lack of vegetation management and the Santa Ana winds. So we got to deal with that, and I have a plan for that. ISA, you know what ISA said? He said rolling blackouts were necessary. They're not necessary. They're because of California's failed energy policy. So he sounds more like a liberal on this than I do.
So let me ask you some of the questions that I've received for you. I'm not sure. I mentioned him earlier to you, but Steve Baldwin, former state assemblyman, Republican, he's a journalist as well now. But he sent us some questions, and I kind of want to get to
Please.
those. All right. The first one he has. Will you commit to continuing the construction of the enhanced border wall Trump began 3 years ago?
If you go to the Union Tribune Q&A, I know you don't like them, but it's my record. I said I would support the border. I would support strong border policy, which means wall, but not just wall. Infrastructure, which is wall. Personnel, because you need people there. Border Patrol, and you need state-of-the-art technology. So you need personnel, technology, and infrastructure. That's how you secure the border, and you do it mile by mile to figure out what our needs are. You do that, you actually secure the border. And by the way, Bill Clinton's the one who gave funding to Duncan Hunter Sr. to build this wall. So Democrats used to be for the wall. You know this.
And before I move on,
Obama and Hillary, all were for the wall. Now they changed their tone because now Trump supports it. So I've said since day one I support border security.
Yeah, I like that you called out that contradiction. That's great, but I kind of want to clarify here because you brought up Bill Clinton twice now. I absolutely, completely, and totally despise Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Obama.
They're all in the past. They should be at least.
Yeah, but so, there's some, obviously you interned in the White House under Obama as well as, they're under Trump.
I worked with Trump, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, these aren't the questions here. These are kind of for my own clarification. These are my own personal questions that don't really have anything to do with even your policies, but I guess your views, because, I mean, anybody who agrees with, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and really Obama on anything, I really would have a hard time understanding common ground, but I'm willing to listen. So what are your thoughts on?
Well, ISA, he's proud to say, he said that he actually got more bills passed under Obama than any other Republican. So if you don't like somebody who's actually worked with Obama, then you don't vote for ISA either.
Well,
right?
I think that regardless, whoever's in office, it's a job of the House and the Senate to work together with the president, regardless of your own personal views. This whole resistance BS is.
I agree.
I think America loses when
we're not together,
Yeah,
playing
right.
on the same team. So that's I'm a team guy. So I worked with Obama, and so I'm bipartisan. So you know that no matter if it's Joe Biden or Trump who wins, I know you guys want Trump to win, but whoever wins, you know that I on day one can work with both sides, and that's what we need, because I need to bring resources to our district. It doesn't matter who is president.
So of the declared candidates, which did you support for presidency? Whether it was Biden or was there another one that you supported?
I know we're in California, so like our vote doesn't really matter in terms of the electorate. But I voted for I didn't want Bernie to win the nomination, so I voted for Biden because I didn't want Bernie I didn't want Bernie to be our nominee because he would. I don't support socialism.
All right. So again, these are things that I'm going to touch on
Yeah.
later. I'm not in no way I'm letting Ammar off on any questions. There'll be a lot of follow-ups. Again, this is brief. I'm trying to get to a lot of information in a very short amount of time, so I'll keep this going. And again, I hope that you guys continue to submit questions to Ammar, to me to ask him. We will do this again. This is a very brief. This was not our scheduled meeting. We're just trying to answer questions.
Cheryl said not all of us want Trump to win. I don't care who wins. I'm going to work with whoever.
I want Trump to win, absolutely, 100%.
That's fine. And my vote's still
So,
open. You guys
yeah.
think I'm going to vote for Biden necessarily? I still want to see how they perform in the debates.
All right, let's get back to Steve's questions here. So, will you vote against socialized medicine, which of course eliminates all private health insurance and places a massive bureaucracy between us and our doctors?
I have since day one said that I do not believe that we should have government run everything. I've always said that since day one. You should have healthy competition. More choices in healthcare will drive down costs, not government saying one shoe fits all. So I would be against that. I don't support socialism. I never have. It's kind of laughable that people think I'm a socialist, but I don't support that. 100% against socialism.
Okay. With the new documents just released showing that Obama and Hillary knew all along that
I think we answered this question already.
It's kind of a long one here.
The investigation.
Along that the Trump-Russia collusion was fake and actually worked with Russian intelligence to create the phony dossier. Will you urge the DOJ, regardless of who the president is, to open up a new investigation into Hillary and Obama's actions? Your campaign slogan is "Country over politics," but since this is the single largest effort in U.S. history to work with a foreign power to influence our elections, then you would work to ensure that those who engaged in such criminal activity be held accountable, right?
I will fully investigate this matter when I'm in Congress. Will you trust that I will investigate it fully? And if I arrive at the conclusion, will you trust my findings? Because I think the country has to move on from them, right? We have to move forward, whoever's president. So I will thoroughly investigate this matter and get back to you when I'm in Congress. But then we got to move on.
On this one, I kind of want to, I guess, if you would, I guess answer more. I mean, the question was based on the information that is available now, based on what we know now. And as far as moving forward, I would say I disagree with that wholeheartedly because I think that we need to move forward in the past. I think that Obama, Hillary, that administration need to be held accountable to show that future administrations that what happened in the Obama administration cannot be tolerated. So based on this information, would you at least support an investigation into them?
Yeah, I would investigate, but then when we get the findings, can we move on one way or another?
Right.
If there was something bad, we got to make sure that we hold them accountable. If not, can we put it to bed? I mean, that answer should be yes, right?
Yes, but I mean, okay. So, I mean,
but if there's wrongdoing, I'm not going to turn a blind eye. I'll say, well, we got to hold them accountable.
There is wrongdoing. We've seen that. So I'm saying that's what we've seen. The evidence is supported the wrongdoing in the administration. We've, we know about the 33,000 emails. We know about Benghazi. We know about Uranium One. We know about the Fast and the Furious. I mean, we know that Hillary Clinton worked with Russian operatives to create the fake dossier. We know that they got the, that the FISA warrant was,
I mean, we've also heard things on the other side too, right? Okay. So like, if we're going to investigate one side, we got to investigate all sides, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess want to make sure that I'm asking the questions and we can.
No. I'm going to investigate Trump, Biden, Hillary, all of them. Yeah. And, yeah, we'll wrap up, and we're going to be a little bit late. It's fine. Okay. We'll wrap it up.
All right. I'll hurry this up. Okay,
we'll do it in the car.
You claim that you are not a hard left Democrat, but by accepting money from the National Democrat Party means you have already agreed to vote for Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. I think you'll like to answer this one based on your Breitbart, so we'll get to let me finish here. I know that you got a little excited. The Speaker of the House as your first vote. Right. This means, of course, that all committees will be chaired by hard leftists. A real moderate would fight the hard left Democrat power structure. Will you commit to voting for a moderate Democrat to be the Speaker?
I will vote to elect a moderate Democrat to be Speaker. And I would defer you to the previous post from Justin that shows that I said just that to Breitbart of all people.
Okay. So I guess kind of last questions. There's a lot that we didn't get to, and we will. I guess kind of close this one for sake of time. Is so we know that the seat that you and Daryl I started running for was previously held by Duncan Hunter, who's a Republican.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a moderate, if not conservative, district that you're running
conservative.
for. So
it's conservative. Let's be straight.
Yeah. So it definitely benefits you to call yourself a moderate and run on a moderate platform, which is what many have accused you of doing as a chameleon to get on the seat. And once you've, if you were to win, be on the seat, that, as a chameleon, you would, basically shift, what you're saying, and just become another Pelosi pawn, another
Right.
squad. I mean, so
Yeah.
what assurances do the people of this district have that you would
Not do that?
Not do that.
Well, first I want to win re-election, so I don't want to be a one-term congressman. So I got to follow through with my promises, otherwise you're going to kick me out. Simple as that. If you're going to be purely cold political calculus, I have to deliver on my promises, otherwise I'm gone, right? That's number one. Number two, I don't have a lot of friends in the establishment right now. They're pretty pissed off at me. They're leaving me out to dry. That's why I'm coming to talk to you. That's why I'm not at a fundraiser with Nancy Pelosi. We have 28 more days, and what am I doing? I'm talking to people at Defend East County. I'm the only candidate from any party in the whole entire county who's ever come on here. Who do you think I'm beholden to? Who am I spending my time with right now? Where's Isa? He's not here. I'm here with you. And when I'm in Congress, I'll be here with you. I will have town halls with Justin. We'll talk about my record, and I'll be able to say I delivered the goods. The last thing I want is Justin getting pissed off at me because I lied to him. So trust me, I'm here telling you man to man, I've improved as a candidate. I'm better now than I was 4 years ago. That's what you do. You become a better representative. And guess what? I'm going to deliver on these promises because I don't want to be a one-term candidate. I've been running for 4 years. By the time this is over, I will have ran twice as long as my first term. I want to be here for a couple more years. But I support term limits. 10 years, and I'm gone. Maybe Justin becomes congressman afterwards. I don't know. But 10 years, I'm gone. Isa's been there for 18 years. Give me 2 years to fix what he couldn't fix in 18 years. That's all I'm asking. Take a chance.
All right. Well, we still have a lot to get to. I guess can we commit to, let's say, same time next Thursday? Are you available? We can.
Yeah.
We can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, call it. It's about 3:30 next Thursday.
Let me double check because we might have a debate. But let's say that tentatively, and we'll give you guys an update.
Tentatively, we'll do that and take some more questions. Hopefully, have some more time. Allow some more people to. Allow people to tap in. I really wanted to.
Yeah.
See. All right. So appreciate you guys all being on here. Moving forward.
Justin, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother.
I'd appreciate the comments being kept civil. I encourage all of you to debate him. In no way do we want to censor or hide anything. Again, this I am meeting with Campa-Najjar. I have reached out to ISIS camp, many others.
Have they responded?
I'm trying to meet with all of the politicians, at least representing East County, if I can, San Diego. Especially, supervisors, represent unincorporated areas of East County, such as Lakeside and Bostonia, and so I'm reaching out. Please treat all candidates, all politicians with respect. Make them feel welcome, so that whether or not you agree with their views, challenge those views, challenge those policies, promote the candidate that you do like, rather than bash the candidate that you don't, and. Again, this is not an endorsement or sponsor or support for Campa-Najjar. I appreciate his willingness to be on the page, to face the music, knowing that we are predominantly a very conservative group. Not everybody in the page is. There are moderates, there are even liberals in the page, but we want everybody's voice heard. And again, this is an unprecedented opportunity, tool, platform that we have to be able to have access to politicians like this.
Right.
So let's not take that for granted, and utilize the ability to ask questions and get them answered in real time, while at the same time being considerate of other time constraints, other commitments and priorities, different, the Campa-Najjar, Daryl Issa, Dustin Schroeder, Sam Hurst, Steve Houlihan, John Minto, Phil Ortiz. They all have prior commitments, and I'm trying to get them all on this platform and others to speak to you guys. I want to reach out to Joel Anderson and Steve Voss, which I have not. So let's show them that our community is better than what we've shown. We are not a rabid mob set out to attack the candidates that we don't agree with. We want to support the candidates that we do. And I mean, don't be afraid to ask the tough questions.
Right.
But what you heard may not always be true. So you can, this is what I heard. How do you respond? And let's just let's continue to be civil. Thank you for being on the page. Thank you for supporting. And absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, one more last thing. Everything I've said, there's proof for it. I said in 2017 I ran for Congress to work with Trump. I said that in 2017 on The Hill. Look up The Hill article. On Breitbart I said it. I've been on the record saying these things, and I'm leading by example. I'm the first candidate ever in the history of DEC to show up. I will show up with you. And you just said it yourself. It's not just conservative, it's mainly conservative. But I came on to DEC because I know you represent a lot of different people. There's Democrats on here, there's moderates, there's independents, there's Republicans and conservatives. I want to show up for you. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. We're not going to agree on everything. If you want to join something that where you agree with everybody, that's a cult, not a campaign. Democracy's messy. But I guarantee you we agree on maybe 70% of the things, maybe. And I've told you everything truthfully. There's all record of everything I've said. I promise you, you will have my access and attention on the 70% we agree on. We'll go further because of that. What's that?
2A. We didn't
Oh
get
yeah,
that, but
I
briefly touch on that.
believe in sane, trained, law-abiding gun ownership. Michael Schwartz, who's the head of the Gun Owners Association, didn't endorse me or ISA because he said that we would be virtually the same. I own a Smith & Wesson, a 500 Mossberg, and my stepdad has an AR-15 in our house. So I support the Second Amendment, and I want to make sure that we have guns in the